Some of the best pieces of music, not just movie music, but all modern music, are the soundtracks from Studio Ghibli films. Almost everyone I know has some kind of positive association with films made by Studio Ghibli. And it's pronounced Ghibli, not Ghibli. Lots of people grew up with the movies and listening to the music, and I have super fond memories of this music, of playing it with Okabanda at Anime Expo 2017. Oh my god, that was a while ago. Okabanda's been around for like a while now. But if you love music from Studio Ghibli, you have this man to thank. Joe Hisaishi. Fun fact, Joe Hisaishi is his stage name. Mamoru Fujisawa was born on December 6, 1950, in Nakano City in Nagano Prefecture, Japan. He studied music and eventually began composing for anime, TV, movies, and the like. Eventually, he developed the stage name Joe Hisaishi, which is actually based off of Quincy Jones. In Japanese, you would say Hisaishi Joe. And the kanji for Hisaishi, the first kanji could also be pronounced as ku, so it would be Kuishi Joe, Quincy Jones. I only found out about that exact connection like a year or two ago, and it blew my mind. Joe Hisaishi is most well known for his work on films by Studio Ghibli, including Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, and Howl's Moving Castle, among many, many others. He's produced nearly all the music for those films directed by Miyazaki. Because of his work on such prominent films and this music being so amazing, he is arguably one of the most well-known composers to ever come from Japan, on any era of history. And his work is globally influential in modern classical music. Modern classical, is that an oxymoron? I don't know. But you get the idea, classical style music produced in the modern era. And, I met him. In early 2018, my good friend David Eric Ramos, he let me know that he was going to a Studio Ghibli concert in my local area. And that happened to be the same weekend as the convention, FanimeCon. It was across the street from the convention, so it was clearly scheduled to happen at the same time. David sent me the Facebook event, and on that event page they said, "We need singers. You can audition to sing in this concert." And I was like, man, I'm really busy, but I really want to see if this would work out for me. So I did a little bit of digging, and I found out that rehearsals would be on the one night of the week that I would be available. And I was like, this is meant to be. This is totally meant to be. So I signed up for an audition. For context, I've done choir for most of my high school career and almost all of my college career. So I'm a singy-songy boy who sings in choir a lot. Not so much recently now that I'm graduated and there was a pandemic, but I'm a singy-songy boy. I auditioned with a classical aria for men called Vittoria mio core, which translates to Victorious my heart. In choir, there is always a lack of tenor and bass voices, so between having a lot of choral experience and being in that vocal range, I was basically instantly on. Basically, by the end of my audition, they were like, "You're great, you're on." And I was like, nice. I was still nervous because they didn't have it in writing, but I felt pretty confident. Anyways, I got on and I was one of 2 people singing bass 2, which is the lowest typical singing voice. I'm a baritone, but I have the range for most bass 2 parts, so that's the role I end up singing because it's one of the least common voice types in choir. So like I said, the rehearsals were really convenient because they were on the one night of the week that I was actually free, and they were also only a few minutes away from my house by car. So it was meant to be. So we rehearsed weekly for about 2 months, and then we dramatically ramped it up, getting closer to the concert itself, which also happened to be when I was done with finals and could just go. Eventually, we started rehearsing with Joe Hisaishi himself at the concert venue, and everyone was totally fanning out because he is, as I said before, he is one of the most influential composers of the modern day, and he's written music that almost everyone I know listens to regularly and has fond memories with. So I don't really get emotional meeting famous or notable people. It's kind of, that's the industry I work in. But seeing him in real life and working with him as a musician was was one of the best experiences of my life. So I wanted to meet him, and I had a plan to do it. Well, there wasn't really a plan per se, but it turned out way better than I expected. You know what else could turn out way better than you expect? Subscribing to this channel. Anyways, I wrote him a gratitude letter, or a kansha tegami, talking about how his music has impacted me, and how playing that music with Okabanda was one of the best, experiences of my life up to that point. And I brought it to rehearsal. So we had a break about halfway through at 8 p.m. And Joe Hisaishi, born as Mamoru Fujisawa, his daughter Mai Fujisawa, was a soloist singing in that concert. I approached her with the letter and I said, "Hi, I have this letter. Could you give it to your father for me?" And then she said, "Why don't you give it to him yourself after rehearsal?" And at that point I was like, oh my god, is this happening? Am I gonna get a one-on-one moment with Joe Hisaishi? No one else in the entire choir is getting this opportunity. And I did a little bit of prep, and I'm getting this opportunity. Needless to say, I was excessively excited. After rehearsal, I went downstairs from the green rooms where the talent was staying, and I was waiting, holding my letter. And one of my friends in the choir, who happens to be a Japanese teacher, he was like, "Hey Andy, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm about to meet Hisaishi." And he was like, "Do you need a translator?" So this was at the point before I had ever gone to Japan. So while I was able to string sentences together, I was by no means a confident Japanese speaker at this point. So I was like, "Yes, you can help me." And he was like, "Oh my god, we both are about to meet Joe Hisaishi." And we were just outrageously excited. We waited a few more minutes, and Mai Fujisawa, she beckoned to have us go up the stairs. We talked a bit with Hisaishi's staff and made friends with one of his managers, who I've actually maintained contact with to this day. We were guided up the stairs, and out from the green room comes Hisaishi himself. And I had no idea what to say, but I handed him the letter and I just said, "Thank you for everything, and would it be alright if we take a picture with you?" And my Japanese teacher friend, he said it in much more much more polite terms than I did. And Joe Hisaishi agreed to take a photo with me. We shook hands, and that was the biggest fanboy moment of my entire life. And it's one of the best stories I have. So speaking of that staff member who I maintained contact with, I've been to Japan 3 times, 2 of which I had a lot of flexible time in my solo travel times. And when I was in Tokyo, I went to visit her twice, once in 2018 and once in 2019. And she's an amazing person. And then later on, when I had an international business course, I actually interviewed her for a project where we were supposed to interview someone who was from a different country and has worked in multiple countries. And she was Joe Hisaishi's manager, and he did concerts all over the world, so she had some amazing stories to tell for that. And that was totally separate from meeting Joe himself, and I was really lucky to make that connection on top of that when I just had the motive of meet idol. And now we have to get to the concerts. We haven't even gotten to the concerts yet. Oh my god. The concerts were held in a venue that can have about 2,500 people in them. There were 4 scheduled initially, but because every single concert sold out, they had to schedule an additional bonus concert. Unfortunately, I could not attend that bonus concert. Oh my god, Momo. Unfortunately, I could not attend that bonus concert because I had a panel at FanimeCon about ocarinas. I do the ocarina panel at that event, and I did it 3 years in a row before the pandemic. Aside from missing 1 concert, I did perform in all of them, and it was just such a moving experience seeing how emotional the crowd got, seeing Joe Hisaishi live, and seeing a live performance of all this extremely iconic Studio Ghibli music, which I cannot put any clips of because it is copyrighted to the wazoo. But the packed concerts really go to show what an impact Joe Hisaishi has made. He is a living legend. And that's why meeting Joe Hisaishi was one of the greatest honors of my entire life. The second greatest honor? If you like, comment, and subscribe! Woo! I'm such a shill. This concert was before any of my Japan trips, and it's always been one of my best wow stories to tell host families, friends, and the like. Like, I would always talk about how, like, I'm involved in music, like I play the ocarina, I sing in a choir, and then I would mention casually, like, oh, there was this one time I performed in a concert with Studio Ghibli music, and I got to sing with Joe Hisaishi conducting. And I met him. I really learned, like, what opportunities people have from working with Joe Hisaishi when I hung out with a friend I made who works in the music industry in Japan tangentially. So in Tokyo, we're at an izakaya, and I mentioned to her that I worked with Joe Hisaishi by singing in a choir for a Studio Ghibli concert back in my hometown. She said, if you put having worked with Joe Hisaishi on your resume, your music career is basically set for life in Japan. Maybe I should have made this video in Japanese. I'm too lazy to make an entire video in Japanese right now. I don't got that kind of time. I'm not using that clout to try and build a music career in Japan. It is on my resume because it is a really noteworthy thing that I've done. But what was most important to me was that I got to make an amazing memory meeting one of my personal icons. I'll always have that memory. Anyways, thanks for watching. I had a great time telling you the story about my life, and I hope that you like, comment, and subscribe to maybe hear some more stories about my life. Anyways, thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye!